As you learn to use Excel 2007 or any version of Excel, it's important to understand the difference between absolute and relative references. It's a really key foundational concept that if you haven't run into already, you certainly will as you continue to use Excel down the road. What I mean by absolute versus relative references is what you see here in this chart. Whether my cell reference is just plain like what we've been using in previous videos, or whether it has a dollar sign on it. And what the dollar sign does is the dollar sign is a code basically telling Excel to lock in place either a column or a row or both, depending on where the dollar sign is positioned. So let's see that in action to see why we would want to use it. First of all, we need to calculate the total of all these loans in the table. So how many loan packages did they process? To do that, I can just do equals sum. I'm going to drag this range to highlight all of Caitlin's and hit enter. And then I can use my fill handle to drag that down. So I'm going to come over here to the fill handle and drag it down. Now what that did, if you click in any of these cells, you'll see that it copied down that same formula that I was using in cell F10, but you can see it changed my numbers. So I've got C14 over here to E14. So what happened was when I copied down using the fill handle, Excel looked and said, okay, you moved down, you copied down 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4 cells away from the original. So I need to change all of the rows by 4. So that's why it's instead of 10, it's 14. Okay, so if I would have moved to the right instead, it would have moved the columns instead of the rows, but since I moved down, it moved my rows. Okay, so let's do another example just to help that make a little more sense. Let's say I want to know the percentage of the total. So what percent is 192 of 759? Well, I'm going to do a simple formula, equals F10 divided by F14. I hit enter and it gives me a percentage, so that's great. Now, if I want to do the same thing, I'm going to use the fill handle here to copy down this formula. So hopefully when I do this, it will move relative to what I'm doing. You see though, when you do it, since I have them all as relative, it gives me an error. The reason, if you're catching on, is let's go ahead and click in here in cell G11 to see why. In G11 I moved down 1 row, right? 1 row. So instead of F10 it has F11. Now the problem is instead of F14, where my total is, it now used F15, which is blank. So what happened was both of my cell references moved relative to the direction that I moved. So I moved down 1 row, so both of those cell references changed by 1 row. So we use absolute, we use these dollar signs to lock something in place when we want to. We can lock just a column, just a row, or we could do both. So in this case, I'm going to do equals, and I'm going to click on my same cell here, F10. Now, do I want the column to be absolute, the row to be absolute, both or neither? In this case, I really want the row to be relative, right? Because I'm going to be moving down, so I want that to change. So I could come in here and put a dollar sign before the F because I don't want the column to change. I don't want to start calculating off of March or February. But since I'm going to be going straight down, it really won't matter because I'm not moving to the left or to the right. But we'll do it anyways just to show that it doesn't hurt. And then I'll do divided by, and I'm going to come down here and click on my total. I'm going to show you a quick trick, don't miss this. We have F14 up here. If I click within the cell reference, I can use my F4 key on the keyboard. And that will cycle through the different variations of absolute references. So right now it's showing $F, $14, meaning completely absolute. If I did that, it's F $14, meaning just the row. In this case, I could do it just this way. I'm going to do it so both are absolute, so it's locking this cell in place. If I hit enter, it gives me the decimal. I can change that to a percentage. I come up here, I'm going to use my fill handle, and let's see if it works. Drag it down. Sure enough, it worked just fine. If I click in this cell, I can see it used F14, which is correct, divided by F14 because it left F14 locked in place.